It's 5 o'clock somewhere. You've heard that saying. Well, it is 5 o'clock, 5:01 a.m. On a Wednesday morning. What do I have to talk about? Well, all I have to talk about right now, we're going to start off with the best moment of the 2020 Democratic Party primaries for president. And then what a juxtaposition that I'm going to unfold on you afterwards. So be patient, watch this little video sample, watch it all the way through, and you'll see. You will see why I feel the way I do and what I'm about to say. Hold tight, please.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about re-entering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response,
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Senator Harris.
My entire career, I have been personally opposed to the death penalty, and that has never changed. And I dare anybody who is in a position to make that decision, to face the people I have faced, to say, I will not seek the death penalty. That is my background. That is my work. I am proud of it. I think you can judge people by when they are under fire, and it's not about some fancy opinion on a stage, but when they're in the position to actually make a decision, what do they do? When I was in the position of having to decide whether or not to seek a death penalty on cases I prosecuted, I made a very difficult decision that was not popular to not seek the death penalty. History shows that, and I am proud of those decisions.
Okay. Well, there's stuff to say about that. Let me do just this real quick here. Now, this is what I have to say about that. That was my favorite moment in the 2020 primaries. Now, I was not a Kamala Harris supporter then. I don't like Kamala Harris now. Bernie Sanders was who I supported in 2016. Bernie Sanders was who I supported in 2020. I think kind of y'all know that by now anyway. Tulsi Gabbard was my second choice in the 2020 primaries. And I was really initially impressed with her. I mean, when when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard, I was initially, impressed. I loved her because she was the second most left wing candidate in the Democratic primaries. At least that's what I thought at the time. Second to Bernie Sanders. Some people argue no, Elizabeth Warren was the second most left wing. No. Is Marianne Williamson? No. It was Andrew Yang. No, it was Tulsi Gabbard. She was the second most left wing candidate in the Democratic primaries. Now you talk to a group of Republicans, every one of those Democrats are Bernie Sanders. They're just like Bernie Sanders. You should go and listen to some of these Republican types. But the thing about it is that Tulsi Gabbard impressed me initially in 2016 when she exposed the Democratic National Committee for their efforts to cheat Bernie Sanders out of the Democratic nomination. Unfortunately, the DNC succeeded in 2016, and Obama did it again. The Democratic apparatus did it again, but this time was Barack Obama making his phone calls that destroyed the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2020. So, it is what it is. I have people telling me that he was not cheated in 2016. Some people said he wasn't cheated in 2020. He was cheated twice. But as I said, she impressed me because she exposed what the Democratic National Committee was doing, and then she campaigned openly for Bernie Sanders. In a sense, Tulsi Gabbard was 2016's. She was the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of 2016. And I've been pretty irritated lately with AOC, with the tacky dress that looks like a Chick-fil-A logo, and her really just being just like Donald Trump, an attention-seeking media whore. And I don't mean whore in the derogatory sense of the word. With AOC, I mean she is a drama queen wanting to be the center of attention, just like Donald Trump, in that regard. And, you need serious people with serious, with a serious effort to try to tackle the problems. Well, I was mad at AOC recently. Now I'm mad as hell at Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi Gabbard made me mad several times in the last year, which I'm going to go into in a moment. But her initial brand was that she was, a woman of color, an American soldier, a patriot, a veteran, and she sees the scourge of war. And it was a very good message. And when it came to civil liberty matters, she was challenging the national security state, the military-industrial complex, the neocon foreign policy consists that rots like a cancer within both parties. She was a champion of Ed Snowden and Julian Assange. And as I said, the best part of the 2016 campaign, and the two guys, I can't think of their name, from the Vanguard, said it themselves. That the best part of the 2020 campaign was the part where she pretty much humiliated Kamala Harris and effectively destroyed her campaign. And you saw that infamous video footage right there that started this commentary. But, I had some criticisms, too, of Tulsi Gabbard long before I turned against her recently, like in the last day or so. And my criticism was, even though I still stated that she was the second most left-wing candidate in the Democratic primaries last year, her Medicare for All plan was not Medicare for all. And I'm not just singling her out. This could be said about Elizabeth Warren, who also purported to be for Medicare for all. At least Pete Buttigieg was honest that his plan wasn't Medicare for all, but Medicare for all for those who wanted it. And that's basically what Warren and Gabbard offered. They offered basically something that resembled Pete Buttigieg's healthcare plan. Now, if you want a public option and believe the public option is the end all for what's going on with healthcare, by all means say I will offer a public option on top of Obamacare. But just don't pretend that Obamacare is Medicare for all. Or a more generous version of of Obamacare would be Medicare for all, because that's just is not the case. So I had a problem with her Medicare for all plan. It was not Medicare for all. The only candidate that provided a decent health care plan was the Bernie Sanders Medicare for all plan. Another thing that was very questionable, and there is debate about this, was her supposed homophobia. Now, she grew up in a socially conservative Hindu household in Hawaii. Her dad was a vile homophobe, and that was a part of what she was exposed to growing up. This happens with Christian fundamentalists. They raise their kids to be homophobic. This happens with very very conservative, reactionary individual Muslims families. Same thing. When the fundamentalists that exist within Hinduism or Islam or Christianity will raise their kids to be homophobic, and that was a problem for her. And I do believe, as she grown up and just went on her own and all of that, I think that especially, joining the Army, because remember, she's a U.S. Army major serving in the medical unit from the Hawaiian National Guard, and she served her country, and she did her tours of duty in Iraq, and she seen the ravages of war, and she got exposed to the world in a lot of ways, and I do believe her when she said her views against homosexuals and lesbians and bisexuals was something that was a product of her growing up, and she evolved on those issues. Remember, Barack Obama opposed gay marriage in 2008. It took Hillary Clinton to 2016 to finally get around to supporting same-sex marriage. Same thing with Joe Biden. All these folks, a lot of these folks were all against same-sex marriage, and some of them even were absolutely opposed to the idea of LGBTQ equality, with the exception of Bernie Sanders, who was a supporter of LGBTQ equality from day number one, at a time when it was unheard of to do so. But the problem today with Tulsi Gabbard is her anti-transgender worldview, and this is something that's totally new to a lot of people. They're used to the gay relative, the lesbian co-worker, the persons that they associate with in the family or friend. And I'm going to be a little sexist for a minute and go into gender stereotypes. The white, wealthy, rich, conservative Republican woman who has a wonderful relationship with her interior decorator, her gay interior decorator, or her hairdresser, and then she evolves on that question, that sort of thing. Well, the thing about it is, many folks have not quite embraced the idea that transgender individuals are people. And unfortunately, Tulsi Gabbard is out of that category. I think she will grow out of it. I think she will realize that transgender individuals are people. But unfortunately, is because she is what she is with her progressive packaging. Not that I believe in political correctness and you have to believe in A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F issue, all of that. But the thing about it is, with her progressive packaging, for her to be a TERF in the year 2020 or in the year 2021 is absolutely just unforgivable. just something it's disconcerting. She's been accused of Islamophobia because of her ties with Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. She is tied with Prime Minister Modi, the Hindu nationalist. But you know what? I do think that there's a little bit of a hypocrisy going on, a little double standard against Tulsi Gabbard in that regard, because Vice President Kamala Harris has this in common with Tulsi Gabbard, and same with Neera Tanden. All three of these women are their families are from India, because they're Indian Americans as opposed to American Indians, to make a distinction. And that's their ethnicity, and that's their culture. And thing about it is that Kamala Harris has ties with Narendra Modi. Same with Neera Tanden, and so to tie only Tulsi Gabbard is for a lot of people, they're doing it because they're just trying to find a reason not to like her. And that's fine and dandy. But you're going to do that, and you're going to let Kamala Harris or Neera Tanden get on, slide on by when they're technically right now still more right wing than she is, and I know what I'm saying. Then I have to call bullshit on that. Where I have a problem, and where I would say that Tulsi Gabbard is now at a point of no return, and that would be she contradicted her main brand of being anti-war, because she expressed herself beautifully how she is opposed to these neocon regime change wars and everything, and she spoke harshly against the U.S. government for selling arms to Saudi Arabia, whereby we're overseeing a genocide in Yemen, for example. And the fact that the United States is involved with basically, kind of actually enabling a lot of radical terrorism around the world. The Islamists that she talks about and everything. The thing about it is that United States actually are actually the ones that kind of fuel that sentiment around. You got to remember, and this is a little on a side note, that before there was such a thing as Islamic inspired terrorism coming out of the Middle East back in the 1970s and 80s. I remember when people will talk about quote unquote, and this is what people were calling them, Arab terrorists. They didn't think of the terms of Muslim. They thought of the terms of terror of Arabs. And what I mean by that prior to the religious fundamentalist question behind Middle Eastern terrorism today, there was a thing called Pan-Arab nationalism. And Pan-Arab nationalism basically was largely secular. That's the weird thing. It was largely secular. Vaguely left-wing or populist left, veering toward the Soviet Union, but it wasn't officially Marxist-Leninism or anything like that. But their loyalties was more toward Moscow than, let's say, Washington D.C. They were otherwise fairly Western-centric culturally. I mean, like for example, there's a video of Abu Nasser, and I think it was like a Ba'ath conference in the 1960s, and they were talking about the Muslim Brotherhood and Ba'athist, Baath was the movement that existed throughout the Middle East, and some of these Baptist parties that existed. Saddam Hussein was probably the most well known in recent history of the Baptists, and Assad would be the last of the Baptists today, Assad of Syria. But this is a largely secular movement. And in the 1960s, at this Ba'athist conference in Egypt, they were talking about the Muslim Brotherhood, not as comrades or fellow brethren, but as a political opposition, because they were making fun of the fundamentalism and the extreme zealotry of the Muslim Brotherhood at the time. and things like the Sharia law and things of, like forcing women to wear burqas and hijabs and things like that. Abu Nasser and all this, all these guys, all these men sitting there in this conference, and you can see the conference with smoke, a heavy smoke, because they were chain smoking at these conferences, and they're all wearing suits and ties and making fun. They were making fun of the Muslim Brotherhood because just in kind of the same way that I would say that liberals and even some conservatives today laugh at the Christian right behind their backs. So I mean, it's that sort of thing, and the thing about it is that movement is now no longer into being, and the United States did a lot to destroy that movement. The United States encouraged a lot of the fundamentalists to go and destroy that movement. It's kind of like a divide and conquer strategy. So anyway, I'm sorry I do go off on these tangents and all of that, but I just felt like this needed to be known. Well, her brand was anti-war, Tulsi Gabbard, and now she grifts and decides to talk about Islamists and things like that, and talk about the Islamists as if we're still in the year 2003 and George W. Bush with his little bomber jacket in the at the aircraft carrier saying, mission accomplished. That's basically what it sounded like, and I'm thinking to myself, Tulsi, that's not what you're supposed to be all about. But if you're going to grift and you're going to suck up to PragerU people, and you're going to sit there and suck up to if you're going to sound to the right of Tucker Carlson on foreign policy, damn. I have to say, and I hate to say it because I used to admire you, but I hate to say it, Tulsi Gabbard, but fuck you. Really, fuck you. Because, you went and grifted because you're fucking weird. You're weird as hell. I can respect weirdness. I'm weird in my own way. But you're so damn eclectic, and you did what a Dave Rubin would do, and you managed to be more fucking goofy than he is. How sad is that? So, I'm through. I'm totally done with Tulsi Gabbard. In fact, right now, I don't believe in cancel culture, but I'm canceling Tulsi Gabbard. She's been officially canceled. It hurts me to say that, but, she brought it on herself. I mean, she brought it on herself when she, at the very first, and the first sign, the first wake-up calls when she endorsed Biden in the Democratic primaries in 2020 instead of Bernie Sanders. And I wanted her to be Bernie Sanders' running mate. I'm almost glad that Bernie Sanders wasn't able to choose her running mate, because if we would have chosen her, good Lord, Anyway, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, well, comment anyway. We will have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment, I salute this. It's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are the muckrakers of our time. Feel free also to hit that subscribe button, to hit that notification bell, so you're kept up to date with hard-hitting commentary by yours truly. I am American social democracy, peace, and class struggle. And let's have better politicians. My God, my goodness. It just turned out to be, was from Bernie light to Bush-Cheney light. Yuck. What a horrible, horrible journey that was.